I don't want to diagnose you with anything. Social anxiety is it's obviously also a diagnosis, but feeling anxious while you're out in social situations amongst groups of people is very, very logical as a fearful avoidant. And in this video, I want to talk to you about why that is so that you have the means and the capability to take care of yourself in social situations and understand yourself better without judging yourself, because all I want you to do is be kind to yourself and give yourself a lot of grace. So the first reason is that you pick up on the slightest things. You are so attuned to every single slight change in somebody's gestures or mimics, facial expressions, and you pick up on that. It's hypervigilance also. And you used to do that because you had to be safe. You had to, in a very unpredictable environment, which a lot of fearful avoidants grew up in, you had to do that to see threat coming, to see whether your parent was okay, whether they were about to get angry, whether they were about um, to be a threat to you in whatever way. And so you've learned, you were trained to pick up on the slightest cue, a change in energy or mood or just general feeling. So sometimes you might have that you are at a party or you're in a group of people and you are registering every single little facial expression change, gesture, um, feeling that anybody has that they are expressing in whatever way. And besides the fact that that is just very exhausting, it is also a stimulus overload. So you have just so many stimuli coming at you because you register it all. Whereas somebody who would be securely attached, for instance, they would not register maybe even 20% of what you register. And I mean, this is a gift when you've healed the fearful avoidant attachment style, but when you haven't yet, all of these things that you register, um, you do because you are trying to manage threats. So this comes from fear, and therefore it is very exhausting and can really feel overwhelming and like an overload. So it's so logical that after however much time you're like, oh, I'm so tired. Why am I like this? Why is nobody else so tired or having such a hard time in groups or in social interactions? You just pick up on way, 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 way more than the average person. And then the second reason is that you actually take over other people's emotions to be able to empathize and fix. And this is not some woo-woo thing, overtaking emotions. It's just that's just what humans do. It I think it does come from research also. Somebody called me out that I have to put my research, if I name it, also in the description. So I'll see if I can find specific research for this. But I do remember reading about this, that that people just tend to co-regulate, which is a term that is used in the attachment sphere a lot. And sometimes you really take over people's emotions. Which means that sometimes you can feel sadness when you are not sad. It's just that somebody else is feeling sad, and because you're so attuned to other people, you kind of mirror that and you feel that too. You feel that too in your body, and it could be because you are picking up on those physical cues, so whatever they are portraying. It could be that it is energy, it is whatever you want to make of it, but just kind of see whether this is true for you, whether you feel that you take over other people's emotions. And it's logical that you do, because when you were a child and it was very important that your parents were happy and stable so that they could meet your needs, the best way to do that is actually to feel what they are feeling so that you're always aware of what they're feeling and then try to fix that. And what we now have to learn as adults that are healing the fearful avoidant attachment style is that we don't have to take on other people's emotions. Other people's emotions are not our responsibility. We don't have to fix them. We don't even have to help them if they are not asking for that. And if they are asking for that, we even don't have to. We don't have responsibility to fix other people's emotions. That's codependency, and that is an unhealthy relationship dynamic. And that, when you realize that and truly start experiencing and living that, it's so freeing, and you will be able to be in social situations so much easier and longer because you're not taking on everybody's emotions and feeling responsible for that and trying to kind of like fix that and make sure that everybody's happy and everybody's okay. And having all these different emotions, like feeling sad 1 second and then you're tuning into somebody else and they may be feeling frustrated or confused and then you're feeling that, and it's just all of that. Feeling all of that is confusing in and of itself. And that's also an overload of stimuli. So yeah, it's taking over other people's emotions when you're in a group or when you're in a busy place. That's pretty exhausting. So it makes sense that you don't really want to go outside when you learn how to kind of protect yourself more from that, and know that it's not your responsibility to fix other people's emotions. It's not even really possible. That becomes so much easier, which also makes it easier to connect to others, interestingly enough, but I'll get back to that. The third reason is that you feel like you have to perform in social settings. You either have to entertain or be interesting. So because you lacked connection as a child, you found the next best thing, which is being getting attention or being admired. And therefore, you always have the feeling that you have to perform. You have to do good. You have to do the right thing. You have to entertain. You have to be interesting. And when you're not, it feels like you're nothing, like you're disappearing. And obviously that's not true. And you can connect with people without saying anything. But when you haven't had that model to you, when you haven't learned that as a child, it's very hard to do. And it won't be the first thing you go for when you're in a social setting. So you can imagine that social settings are so much more exhausting when you always feel like you need to perform. I remember I had this for years and years and years and years. And I would not want to meet up with friends unless I felt really good. Like if I would be tired or if I just wouldn't have a great day, I would cancel. And if I felt like I couldn't cancel because of social, how do you say that, rules, I would get so panicky and almost get sick. Like my body would give me a reason to cancel anyway. And it has only been a few years that I really started healing friendships and the social settings. And now I don't have that anymore at all. I can be with friends and really not feel my best, be quiet, not really say anything, and feel totally fine about that. Not feel scared about that, and still be able to connect fully. And that is just such a beautiful thing to experience, that I don't have to perform. I'm just good enough as I am. And that makes it not exhausting at all. And the thing is that I don't think I do things very differently. Like I still talk and I still ask a lot of questions because that's just who I am. And I used to do that to perform, like to be interesting or to have people like me, I guess. And now I just do it because that comes natural, but there's no fear attached to it. There's no, if I don't do this, then I will be rejected or they won't like me or whatever. There's just no consequence to either doing it or not doing it. So, yeah, that's just freedom. That is just so incredibly freeing. Then the fourth reason is you feel like you have to prevent anything from going wrong and other people from feeling bad. If you take this responsibility onto yourself and try to manage and control the whole group dynamic, the relationship dynamic, my goodness, that's a lot of responsibility to take on your shoulders. I remember when something would seem to go wrong, like somebody would get angry or somebody said something that somebody else wouldn't like, I would be the one to jump in and say, well, what I think that person means is this, and what I think they are feeling is this, and I would pretty much fix it for them. And now I just kind of sit back and just trust that, everything is okay, I am safe, and people find a way, and they do. They do find a way. So it is not my responsibility to fix anymore. And therefore, now I'm able to hold space for whatever is there, which is in a way so much more healing and so much more it gives such um it gives so much more possibility of connection. So taking that responsibility on your shoulders is very heavy, and if you always feel that responsibility going into any social settings, it's so logical that you feel social anxiety, because then you can kind of fail. If things go wrong, it means that it's your fault, and it's not. It's definitely not your fault. But if you go into it with this idea that you have to prevent anything bad from happening, or prevent other people from feeling bad, then you can fail, and that's not a relaxing feeling to have in social settings. And then the fifth reason is you take everything personal. So when somebody says something, or maybe when somebody even looks a certain way or doesn't look very happy, you feel that as, oh, this is my fault, I'm boring, I'm not good enough, I'm doing something wrong, I said something wrong, they're now angry, they're thinking about all the ways they are angry with me, and how I felt them in the past, and how they don't want to be friends with me anymore, and a million thoughts enter your mind. And it could be that that person is like, oh, I had a burrito for lunch and I'm not feeling very well. It could just be that. And you are reading into it because you feel so much anxiety around um, people being angry with you, or becoming mad at you. Uh, and therefore you take everything that happens as directed at you, or you being the cause of that. And that's because you felt when you were younger that that was true, that you were the cause of um, everything, of all the problems your parents had, of all the issues they had being capable in raising you, so, or being there for you. So taking everything personal and seeing it as your fault is definitely a trauma response, and something you learned in childhood. And it is also so freeing to let that go and just be, and be there, and allow yourself to not react to subtext, and only react if somebody explains in a loving way, hey, what you did really hurt me, or I didn't like that, I would like it if you would do this. Just normal, healthy adult communication. If people don't do that, that's on them. That's on them. Of course, we have to take responsibility for our own actions, but not by reading cues and signs and guessing and assuming. If somebody has a problem, or you've hurt somebody, they need to take the responsibility to tell you in a respectful and loving way, so that you can take the responsibility and say, oh, I'm so sorry, that wasn't my intention, what I hear is this and this and this, and next time I will do that and that and that, I'm really sorry. You don't have to respond to subtext. Even if somebody is being passive aggressive, it's not your problem. It's not your responsibility to pick up on that and figure out what was going wrong or what they didn't like. It's okay to expect from people to be grown-ups and to have mature emotional skills. It is not your responsibility if they don't have that. That's their responsibility to learn, just as you are learning right now by watching this channel and by healing this attachment style. So everybody can do that for themselves. And as long as you take everything personal, you will take so much responsibility upon yourself, and it will be so much harder for you to be in social settings, because that is just way overwhelming. And oh, I wanted to say something that I would come back to. Oh yeah, the fact that when you do all these things, when you pick up on the slightest things, when you take everything everything personal, and you take over other people's emotions, you feel like you have to perform, you feel like you have to prevent anything from going wrong. Pretty much all of that stands in the way of connection, of true connection. So the social anxiety comes from the performing, from the feeling like you could fail, while when you focus on connection, there's no way you could fail. And you focus on connection by just being there and holding space for whatever happens, by being able um to take responsibility for your actions if needed, without being very triggered and becoming defensive, and just allowing yourself to be human. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to fix everybody. You don't have to always be super happy and cheerful and interesting and entertaining. There is so much more than that. You deserve friendships and social settings where people just accept you when you're happy, when you're a little bit more quiet, when you're tired, when you're stressed, when you're not feeling your best. They will accept you and they will hold space for your feelings. So just allow them to be there, and you will hold space for theirs. And in all of that, you can be together. And it's amazing to have that kind of friendship. And because of the fearful avoidant attachment style, I didn't have that kind of friendship for so long. And it is only in the past few years that I healed that, and almost immediately friendships like that came into my life. So it's not that you are now too old to have friendships like that. Um, it's never like that. When you heal the fearful avoidant attachment style, you will look at people differently, and therefore you will see people, you will notice people that you maybe haven't noticed before, that have always been there, but you now kind of really see for the first time, and like, oh wait, that person is actually really nice to be with and to talk to. um so yeah, whenever you do heal this, friendships will come. And I was so scared that it wouldn't. I thought, well, no, I'm just gonna be lonely forever. I do not have a good track record when it comes to friendships. I always felt like friendships were, like, the friendships I wanted were out of reach. But yeah, it's not. I now have those friendships and I'm so super grateful for them. Um so maybe I'll make a whole different video on friendships, about all of this. Maybe about my whole personal struggle with that. Would that be interesting? Please let me know in the comments below. I hope this video was valuable to you, helpful to you. Let me know. And if you want to release any of this and just be relaxed in social settings, then we do address this in the program Healed and Happy. And you go to the roots of the fearful avoidant attachment style, which will heal a lot of this too, and help you just be yourself in social settings and be accepted as yourself and loved as yourself, and not admired or get attention because of how entertaining you are or how well you perform. You don't have to do that. You are enough. You are valuable. You are intriguing just by being yourself. And you don't have to be your best to be worthy of friendships or social settings that you feel comfortable in. I am so happy you are here, and I will see you in the next one.